Hey everybody, I'm Nico.
And I'm TK.
And that makes this X is for Podcast, your one and only show where we talk about lots of comics. We always have a mission statement, and then we wind up taking 2 weeks off somewhere in the schedule. And then the mission statement sort of becomes an afterthought, and we just sort of like pick a new thing. And today it's Solicits.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, aren't we just the comics industry then? Aren't we just doing what our parents taught us? Don't comics constantly tell us they have a mission statement? We're going to put out these books. They're all going to be ongoings because everybody deserves a chance. No, they're all ending at issue 10. We don't publish books that don't sell. Why would you think that? You're the problem.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so you're familiar. Just good to know. Good to know.
We took a break. A well-deserved break. Nobody has published anything that desperately needed to be covered in the weeks that we took off. And we're not even talking books that are out this week. We're going to talk books that are coming up, and then we'll settle back into comics. But like, honestly, once we said that we weren't doing specific books this week, I then went, of course, and looked at next week. And like, there's stuff, but like, there's nothing that I'm like, Nico and I need to talk about this.
I agree. Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, that is fine. I could go a couple years even like that, but I am starting to get to the point with comics where I'm like, I think we're going longer than a couple years like that. So I have questions.
It's really funny because I feel a real way. Like, if you were to put me on the spot right now and say, Nico, pitch me the show going forward, I would say 1 week of new comics a month, 3 weeks of talking other stuff about comics. But like, I am at a place where even the biggest ideas in comics wind up not being the biggest idea in comics anymore. We were, and it's so funny because like when you look at the bigger picture of it, right? When Gods was announced, we were still making the old form of the show with a totally different crew. And in the time it's taken us to get here, Gods has come and gone and is now being semi-relaunched by Ryan North, which like, I don't mean, I'm like, it's just one of those things where like Scorsese was going to make Gangs of New York with Meryl Streep in 1979, and then he made it in 1999 with Cameron Diaz. And I don't think anybody ever thought that Cameron Diaz was 1999's answer to Meryl Streep. And so like, Ryan North is incredible, but he is not just your John Hickman slot in.
Yeah, I mean, they do two really different things, and I think right now we're kind of seeing them both be asked to do what they don't do. Ryan, I mean, like, I think Ryan North asked to write Gods. I think the option was presented, and he was like, yeah, this is my series. But like, One World Under Doom feels like something that you would want Hickman writing, or you would want somebody who can make it feel consequential, maybe a sequel to Secret Wars. And this is why I'm like, I don't care, and like why we haven't covered it is because Doom literally took over the omniverse. He took over the entire multiverse at one point, and we had a Secret War summer, and it was insane and very cool. Lots of great stuff, some stupid stuff, whatever. But Hickman's magnum opus, it brought together his Shield run, his Time Runs Out, his Avengers World, Illuminati. So much of this stuff all came together with his Secret Wars, and then he did this book and it ended. And so from there, when you're like, Doom has now taken over the weakest governing body ever, the UN, I'm sorry, that versus the Beyonders is not impressive to me. That it can't be. But Ryan North is being tasked with present something that competes with Hickman, and present something that is a magnum opus Marvel world changing idea. And what he's giving us is a thing that we get all the time, which is like, big bad gets bigger and badder, threatens the world. The heroes are underdogging until they are top dogging, event over, by a bunch of miniseries. And meanwhile, Hickman is doing like Wolverine, Revenge, like, don't get me wrong, super cool, Alien versus Avengers, like, just stuff that it's like, oh, you get your your lighter writers on those titles.
I think the problem is it's literally people saying he wrote his magnum opus already. Why give him anything else? If people are literally saying he hit his crescendo several years ago, several projects ago, 14 crossovers ago, and 2 Omniby editions ago, it makes it like harder to give the guy consequential work, because look at how that crashed Gods. I think North is more than being asked to come up with something that slots in for Hickman. I think North is being asked to play a role that I sometimes think is it's a very specific type of manipulation. They're saying, oh no, look, Ryan North, he's the next Hickman. But they're not really saying that. And they're not really giving him that berth because they didn't give it to Gods in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, Gods is a whole other thing. I buy Hickman magnum opuses pretty readily. Probably not. I should probably be a little more discerning. But like, I think Ultimate Spider-Man is really good. Ultimate Spider-Man is sort of, I accept that it's the best I'm going to get of the things that I want, and actually would prefer that I be writing, which is of course MC2. But it's that same concept. It's Peter as an older male, and yet what Hickman has done is figure out how to show somebody that is a older father, somebody that is our age, but isn't uncool. Like the one of the problems we always had with Tom DeFalco's MC2 Spider-Man is that he's 40, but he's like 60. Like he's these damn kids on my lawn, and you and I are 40, and we're just not like that. Like that's just not how. So it's
Speak
just
for yourself. 39.
True, 39. I know. I'm so sorry for over.
Bam, 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 bam.
But Hickman's Mary Jane and Peter Parker live in an apartment and like go out. So it just feels a little like there's some like big statement being made, because again, Tom Brevoort doesn't think that that's a thing. He thinks that Spider-Man either needs to be 22 or he's an old man. Like those are the only two options to Tom Brevoort. And he thinks that people who want like a cool 40-year-old Spider-Man don't exist and are unrealistic, and they're right here talking to you. So like, I'll buy a Hickman magnum opus idea, and I was ready to buy Gods, but you can immediately see like I love comics because I have read so many comic scripts and everybody writes them differently. And some people like literally, your Morrisons will sometimes like basically draw in words. They will tell the artist every pixel that needs to be on the page. And some people are like, I don't know, do 6 panels of action. It's an action page. And you see so many different scripts, but with Hickman's Gods, you could see immediately the television scripts that he had written that they accepted, and then gave up on.
Even more than that, I think what you could see as soon as you cracked it open was exactly why it's getting harder to put Hickman on projects. Hickman's vision is so uniquely Hickman that it's hard for other writers to work into it quite dynamically, because they're automatically going to be beholden to Hickman's bigger ideas. Gods immediately tells the Marvel Universe how to behave in a way that frankly doesn't become the Marvel Universe. It didn't fill in the moments I never saw. It told me why moments that I already knew the answers to were wrong, but it didn't do it in a way that fulfilled me. It just said there's all this stuff you never knew about, which means every time Doctor Strange said this was the be-all, end-all, it was incorrect.
I think that was... I think his idea for wanting to do it really interested me, and what I got pitched really interested me too, because something that I talked about, we had like a year or two prior to that had done a few Marvel cosmological things that had just come up on the show. We did a magic series that has like Nightmare in it, and it goes into Marvel cosmology a bunch, and we were talking about a few other things at the time, and I remember at the time being like, yeah, Marvel cosmology is really fractured right now. It's something that I've said similarly about Ghost Rider. Like, so many people have written Ghost Rider. Jason Aaron wrote a really definitive, this is how Ghost Riders work, and this is like what it is. It's essentially a heavenly and hellish technology. And it's a great run. Jason Aaron's run is really good, but then everybody else who came after him said other stuff and never acknowledged his run. And so now we really don't know what Ghost Riders are. And similarly, in the Marvel cosmology, so many people have come in and been like, this is what the abstract entities are. This is what Nightmare is. And I was really excited because I thought Hickman was going to come in and sort of like Ewing also does and did in like Defenders and Defenders Beyond, was going to come in and like lay down some real statements about what some of this stuff is and what some of this stuff means. And instead it was a lot of like, Hickman know, and I could tell you, but instead here's like two of the least relevant abstract entities in a different form and a bunch of characters that I made up being like, wow, ain't the world crazy? And that just didn't feel like what I was even solicited. So when I started reading the book, I was just like, okay, this is fine, but what is this a vehicle for? What are we doing with this?
Well, and that's the nature of cosmology when it comes to personal iteration. Like, you're talking about the way we identify godhood in storytelling. And so we wind up in this tricky place where there are so many people with so many ideas of what God is, who God should be to these stories, what a God, for those of you who haven't seen Thunderbolts yet, cover your ears for 10 seconds. A character says, you said that I could beat this thing. Well, that thing contains this power level, then I must be this powerful. It's the nature of why. It's the nature of why we've never taken a week off to say Superman would beat this person, but this person would beat that person. It's why Squirrel Girl can't take over the multiverse just because she's beaten Doctor Doom. You know what I mean? Like, it's there we go. It's so wait, where is he? It's so, where is Doctor Doom? No, it is so much of like the nature of it is the coxmanship. And I want to be clear about like the nature of this, because it's not just who's the better fire, who has the bigger gun, who's the faster draw, who has better marksmanship. There's all of these dimensions at this point. Like, it's almost hard to talk about, because like a guy like Hickman doesn't come back to do a mini series about Maggot. A guy like Hickman comes back to do Wolverine Revenge, which, despite being one of the most disappointing miniseries of Hickman's Marvel tenure, is getting a reprint, this immediate reprint cycle. Like, starting in July, in these solicits, you can find Wolverine Revenge Raw edition, which, can I just tell you, like, it was bad enough when photographers decided they were going to steal from the gays and say, I shoot raw. We get it. You shoot raw, whatever. But like, it's getting to the point where like the word raw, you're just taking it and corrupting it for the beautiful thing it means to gay piggies. And you need to give it back.
No.
That's what the
No.
This is our new manifesto. Yeah, I don't. But like, it's funny too with Hickman, because he also like loves Generation X, and like he's a big comics guy, and so like he'll do Hoxpox and put Paige Guthrie in it, and it feels right. Like it feels correct, and it feels like he gets the best stuff about being a comics fan. But you're right, he's not doing Maggot solos, he's doing Wolverine solos. And I guess I keep waiting for Hickman to save everything. Because I feel like everything needs to be saved. I feel like somebody needs to come in with a big sweeping plan and gesture. I'm always waiting for Studio 60. I'm always waiting for the Matt and with comics, not with anything else. With everything else, I'm like, this is irredeemably broken. Television is broken. Every show is broken. I don't care if we save any of them. I'm not waiting for somebody to save Grey's Anatomy. It'll just, whatever happens will happen. But I'm waiting for somebody to, especially come save Marvel. I'm always waiting for somebody to be like, I'm here. I'm gonna, like, I have a plan. I have a plan for what we're going to publish and the story that we're going to do that is finally going to show people that we're committed to good storytelling and like innovative storytelling. And it's a plan that will address the concerns about who's getting ongoings, who's getting maxis, who's getting minis. It will make writers and artists not feel like they have to be on social media singing for their supper. All of this stuff that just sort of drives me nuts about the industry right now. So every time Hickman does something, I sort of am like, oh, is this it? And it's very stupid of me because no, like what I actually want is somebody to save me from what keeps happening with Hickman. That's like part of the problem. Even though he is a great mind and I believe he could do it, he is fully in the machine now, probably because it pays him very well and makes a very comfortable life. And I never hate anybody for getting their bag. It is very difficult to be comfortable and creative in this world. And if you're there, you're there. But it does feel like this person who back at Secret Wars and Hawksbox, I really thought like, oh, if they just let him do whatever he wants and like publishing and editorial don't interfere, he might be able to fix this industry or like this company in the industry. And A, I think that was unrealistic and a stupid thing for me to think, but B, that's also not going to happen anyway, because he's not there to fix it. He's there to be a part of it.
Well, especially because he's the architect of so much of it now.
Yeah.
He can no longer be the guy that saves the industry that's built on his ideas.
Right.
So, we wind up at a weird place because like one of the things that I noticed, because we're supposed to be talking about Solicits and we're just not, but
we're getting there
eventually, and I'm into it. I don't care how long we take. We're having a good time.
Good.
But like one of the things that I think about when we're talking about who Hickman has become, I think a little bit about the fact that Hickman has been around so long that we forget that he was already an industry guy when he was doing Secret Wars. And like he had major projects at multiple studios, but like it's the transformative nature of fame, because like I think about artists who like I did not think Lady Gaga would get bigger than Fame and Fame Monster. And then, Born This Way is, I guess, technically a bigger seller, but like it's not my Gaga album. But it is like the cultural apex of her fame as a musician before she became other things. I think that's how I feel about Secret Wars at this point. It's become the cultural apex of Hickman's fame, but like, and I don't have the negative feelings about it I have about Born This Way, but like,
I would think that it was Fame and Fame Monster and Hawksbox was Born This Way.
Okay, I can even get there. But like for me, I think at the end of the day, why I've checked out of comics as an industry is because they keep pointing to superstars and saying, save us, save us. And I don't think the funny books need to be saved. I think the books are fine. I think the problem is the industry, and I think the problem is ego, and I think the problem is printing schedules and deadlines, a bitchy media, the idea that you are beholden to the identity of 22 pages a month, the idea that everything has to fit into a crossover or be a part, like Marvel and DC make each other's mistakes every month and they just won't learn.
Oversaturation, just boys club mentality being completely out of touch. I mean, there's a lot. You're absolutely right. And yeah, a lot of the times the books don't need saving, as in creatives can just keep creating. That doesn't mean they're all good. Don't get me wrong. The books don't need saving does not mean they're all good, but it means like let creatives run, let creatives do what they're going to do, and support that don't exploit that. Don't constantly be looking at it as like, oh god damn it, I was trying to, trying to make an X Factor that made a ton of money, but it didn't, so now it's canceled, even though I said it wouldn't be. X Factor is a great example because I don't think it's good. Like, I don't think it's great. I'm okay with it being done, but I'm not really okay with the industry telling me that it's going to be an ongoing and then it gets canceled and I go, oh, wait, I thought it was going to be an ongoing, and some bitchy old man goes like, well, why did you think that? Like, do you think we just print these things out of the goodness of our hearts? We have to make money. As if I got upset about it or said you didn't have to make money.
I think one of the things that is so unique about that conversation winds up being that you aren't necessarily always the most focused on your projects that are the big thing, I guess. Like, I don't want to speak for Ryan North, but when I think about Ryan North, I'm going to always think about his Squirrel Girl. I'm not going to think about his Fantastic Four. And I know he's getting to relaunch it. And I know he did One World Under Doom. But like, this was one of those things where Ryan North is a funny man and they're making him tell exclusively dramatic stories. And like, yeah, you know what? Is this Tom of Finland Marvel style Polar Knights? No, this is not Tom of Finland Marvel style. I am Tom of Finland Marvel style. This is just sexy. I think Ryan North should be funny, sexy, not Tom of Finland, which is dramatic sexy.
Well, and it kind of felt like the Fantastic Four book started out there. It feels like the biggest takeaway from the Fantastic Four. It's 40 issues or something. For me, the biggest takeaway is that Johnny Storm has a mustache. Which is funny. I think it's gone on a little long.
It's becoming the identity of like
the mustache is wearing him now.
Yeah, it's literally broken
it's
the
mustache
iteration.
and Storm. They are the Human Torch. But like that book was like silly, funny, and there was this element of like, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids / Home Alone, because they literally left their children in a time loop, and like the whole point when it started was like they had to get back, but also like the kids were safe, it was fine, so like they were gonna go on this adventure. It felt very Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Home Alone, like that level of like, it's funny but there's action, there's drama, there's like a little bit of like heartfeltedness, and I didn't continue it all the way through, but that I was cool with, and that could have gone in a lot of directions. I just don't see his voice. And again, like he could have actually, One World Under Doom could have worked for Ryan North, because again, I stand by my point. Once you have killed the Beyonders to take over the multiverse, the UN does not feel impressive. That's very funny to me. The idea that Doom's next target, his big magnum opus idea, is this planet, is very funny. It should be very funny. It should be almost borderline pathetic. Everybody should be like, oh, fuck, I guess this is happening. Like, he technically did it, where we got to do something, but like, it should be a little bit funny, because there's no way Reed Richards, the man who went up against him and reset the multiverse, is like, this is actually a problem. This is Reed Richards going, oh fuck, I guess I'm not cleaning the leaves this Sunday. And that's funny, and that could actually be a really good event. After you've done a Judgment Day and a Blood Hunt, where it's just so melodramatic and so world ending, and Sins of Sinister, just all these like flung to the far parts of the future, the god is upon earth, the darkness is eating everything. To do a summer blockbuster event that's actually a little bit funny would have actually been really cool. This actually could have been a great event for Ryan North. Doing, oh no, we're all in trouble because Doom has done the least impressive thing he has done in 2 decades. That's just, you guys just wanted to do another event.
And it's because the timing was there. You had to do something. It had to fall here, and you heard
nobody else was producing anything that would be an idea. I mean, you can almost see like Bring On the Bad Guys and like whatever's happening with Mephisto, like that could have been the Thing, if the timing had worked out.
I'm going to change my recon profile to Mephisto. So, let's solicit.
Yeah.
Because we're already talking about it. I would love to start with the Fantastic Four reboot. Nothing says to me like we don't give a shit about what you think about this crossover in the middle of it. Like saying, hey, look, guys, this is really about the movie and not about the crossover. And we hope you, because, like, we know that whatever's happening with Doom is going to happen again when the movie happens. But Fantastic Four are not going to get another big bump because they're not going to have another Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah. I mean, like, and then, you know, this also really just invalidates One World Under Doom again. This is something I've said on the show before, but like a really impressive thing that Marvel could do is to shut the fuck up, button up, or, you know, take a break. Don't publish a Fantastic Four book for 6 months and like, and have this be, and it's, I get that it's really tough because of the timing of the film and they need to have something. There's other ways to do it. What we now know, thanks to Free Comic Book Day, is they're all fine. They are all completely fine after One World Under Doom. These are the go team that is going to hit Doom. We know other stuff in the Marvel universe might change. It is not like complete spoilers because we also know that the universe isn't shutting down or anything. So we know that mostly things were going to be fine anyway, which in and of itself just is like, okay, so why am I reading this? Why aren't I just waiting to the end and finding out what happens? But the biggest thing is, his biggest opposition is the Fantastic Four. And if we know that they are completely fine to the point where they're not even talking about what happened, whatever, 1 month ago, 6 months ago, Marvel time ago, nobody's body is drastically deformed in that Free Comic Book Day. Nobody here is missing a limb. We now are basically spoiled on a huge chunk of One World Under Doom, which is they're all fine. The event is going to end and they're all fine. So already, to me, that's 25% of the consequences of the book because of the crossover, because 25% of the crossover is Doom versus the Fantastic Four. So now we know that is really to them, like, not even actually a big deal. Like, nobody is like, as you know, I'm still dealing with my post-traumatic stress disorder from whatever happened in the like last summer or whatever. So I don't know. It's just, you know, picking up this comic for Free Comic Book Day, looking at this solicit now, whatever, fine, sure. And it's still Ryan North and Humberto Ramos is doing that. I do love Humberto Ramos, but like, there's no greater confluence of circumstances that could say to me, there is no reason to give a shit about this book. Also, the movie's coming out, so there's another Fantastic Four thing that you can give more shits about.
Yeah,
that's probably like been given more love, care, and attention by the people who made it, not the writer and artist, just by the people publishing it.
It's so funny because, like, when I think about the fact that the Fantastic Four are getting this relaunch in the middle of a relaunch in the middle of a relaunch, one of the things that's killing me about it a little bit is that I'm struggling with the idea that the Fantastic Four are in need of a relaunch right now. And so, like, on paper, I want to like it. Buying paper, not going to happen. So it's not that I'm anti-Fantastic Four. It's not that I'm anti-Ryan North, but I don't feel like I got enough out of the last volume of Fantastic Four to relaunch it already with the same vibe. So I'm going to hang in. I'm going to give it a minute. I'm going to grab it when it hits Marvel Unlimited, but this is definitely not a picking up #1 in the shop. This is a grabbing it on Marvel Unlimited.
100%. And the Free Comic Book Day made me feel even more so that way. And I think the big thing that you said is like, it's not worth it if the vibe is the same. Like, because it's Ryan North writing it. It just feels exactly the same. Like, you know, I don't like that we're doing all these #1s anyway, but again, your Tom Brevoorts will hop on their Substack and say that's what sells. I get it. 7 or 8 times out of 10, I just accept that that's the case. But I don't know, why has DC figured out how to keep their big titles running ongoing? And they even reset, and like the vibe is very different. The Chip Zdarsky Batman was very different than the Batman we're getting now. But it's the numbering is the same. I don't know why we keep this is the exact same book as the one that just ended. It is the same writer. It is the same Fantastic Four. Yeah, the art's a little different, but that's not a big enough thing. And nobody's changing the mission statement of the Fantastic Four. Every time I want to say what should happen with the Fantastic Four, I won't, because it's my pitch and I'm going to do it one day. But like, yeah, this should just be the next issue.
And you just said a bunch of stuff that
I often do.
I really think literally, okay, Butt Soup.
Comicsgate does suck.
Comicsgate sucks. Yeah. Throw it in a vat and pour it out. It is the stuff that turned the Joker into the Joker. Speaking of exactly what you were talking about, TK, yeah. DC is the people who would do this. This amazing JMS slots in, does a run. A month later, Chip Zdarsky comes in, does a run. This feels DCZ, the way they're doing all of this stuff. But where it loses me is, the last thing Chip Zdarsky did at Marvel left a funny taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
The last thing he did at DC ended with a funny taste in my mouth. I love Chip Zdarsky, but I wonder if Chip Zdarsky's brilliance is better suited to a world where he's not obligated to respond to group editors.
That is the thing. I mean, that's where, yes, that is, and period. I mean, this will be really interesting to see. This is technically the fourth strike, but this is, I think, where the idea really formulates. We started with Daredevil. Daredevil was the best of the worst, but Daredevil ended really fast. In a way that felt like it ended after 14 issues and felt like it needed to be 28. It didn't even necessarily need to have more continue on in the story. It felt like between where it started with its issue number 1 and where it ended with its issue 14 needed 14 more issues filling in what happened. It just felt like it was really fast, but it did feel like Zdarsky had a really great idea. Then we got Avengers Twilight, which again, really great idea, but you and I had what didn't really seem like far out ideas about why this would be a bigger thing, why this would maybe be like, it ends with the Avenger, like somebody going back in time and that being part of a mainstream Avengers book. And essentially Jed McKay's Avengers not really being a thing is ultimately where we were going with that. It was a nice little mini, but nothing came of it. And it just felt like putting Chip Zdarsky on a book called Avengers Twilight was meant to signal a new coming for the Avengers. And especially because McKay's was not really blowing anyone's mind away and felt more like a water tread. It was just like, oh, Zdarsky is graduating from Daredevil to the Avengers, and that makes a lot of sense, but he's starting with this sort of artistic one-issue mini. No, it was just this mini, which was fine, but again, it felt like an editorial decision that was a loss on their part. Then we get to Batman. Batman ends really conclusively and decisively, and it is done. But given how grand the entirety of the run felt, it felt like it ended on a very pedestrian note. And it felt like it ended in a way that was like, I have to roll out of the car so the next man can roll into the car while it is still moving. And that is an impressive feat, but I maybe would have just preferred that we stop the car and do a safe exchange. So now we get this, and first off, Captain America, already the flagship character for the nation, for Marvel, for everything. Skeety,
flag it, pride.
Skeety, very important artist. Our Secret Wars. That is a big thing to put on a cover. And I just, at this point, do not believe. I believe that we will get a perfectly lovely mini, and there will be a war in it that is secret. But we know what we're talking about when we say Secret Wars. And it doesn't even need to be the multiversal Beyonder Secret Wars. It could be the insane, thing that started New Avengers and eventually led to Secret Invasion. It could be that Secret War. But that was, or it was Bendis, not Quesada.
I think it was that one though.
What do you mean?
I think that where they're saying this goes, like it's like
yeah.
I totally love that you brought that one up.
Yes, I think it's going to be part of that, but I just think it's not going to be anything like that. Was, I don't know, a lot of people, especially if you got into comics after like 2015, you probably don't realize it, but like there was a wild plan going all the way back to this sort of unknown series that a lot of people didn't read called Secret War. That was not the Secret War of the 80s, but it was this like espionage book featuring Wolverine, Captain America, Black Widow, and ultimately, it was very Thunderbolts, and ultimately it would lead into New Avengers, and ultimately, I mean, it was like 10 years of the Marvel Universe that were really well seated and plotted out. And being a fan at the time, it was pretty fascinating to have these things materialize and stick to reading them and realize that like you were actually getting something out of it. I just feel like that's not what this is going to be. And given everything else that Zdarsky stuff has been lately, like, again, not necessarily by any fault of his own, with the exception of Batman, which again, I think he had a plan. I just think it's not what I would have done. I don't.
Beast, he's so great.
Yeah, what a weird. I mean, like, what a. But yeah, I mean, it's like this is gonna end with him fighting Batroc the Leaper, and okay.
Say you want to be in the chorus of Mask of the Vampire without saying you want to be in the chorus of Mask of the Vampire. Batroc the Leaper in the.
Yeah, I got it.
It's the arms.
Yeah.
I have a weird relationship with Cap. I have a weird relationship with JMS. So the fact that this JMS run did nothing for the world, did nothing for me. I'm hoping to read it in like a year and see the value, see the power, see the connection to what's going on.
Cap's a landlord. I don't know if it's ever going to do anything for anyone.
That's the problem, I think, with this though too. Like, Zdarsky is a genius. He's a superhero. He's incredible. But like, what does he have to offer on a topic that so many people have already discussed? And I know they're saying this is a period they've never discussed. Yeah, because you made another one. Okay, mm-hmm. So like, if I have $100 and I spend 50 of it on this person, I've spent half of my money. Now I have $50. If I spend another half of that money on the next person, that's $25. Great. If I spend the next half of that, it's 12.5. But the point is, each time I'm giving somebody half of everything I have, it's just to the point of diminishing returns. You can't keep telling me that there are periods of time that are so worth investigating that we've never discussed, that these people have never come up, that you just fucking remembered that happened 100 years ago. What I would do, pocket time. We got to start doing pocket time. Recent pocket time goes roughly between volumes 6 and 7. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It goes right after Civil War. Everybody was really fucked up then. We were all dealing with the hangover. So like, just pivot through, but putting this in the far past is the part that makes it.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be loud and weird about it.
Yeah.
Speaking of big, loud, and weird, I want to love this.
Well, so hold on. Did you get the other one?
What do you mean?
DC is also doing.
No, they're doing like King Kong,
but it's Godzilla. It is also Godzilla. It's Godzilla. It's DC versus Godzilla versus King Kong.
You just got to assume they're burning theirs off and Marvel is starting theirs up.
Who's being slutty here with Godzilla? Godzilla's a little is he a Beyonder? How's he getting all over the multiverse?
No, oh my gosh, I've knocked everything over. No, it's way more like he's Mantis, and he can be at every company because he's got a slightly different name. He's just, he's Gojira here, he's Godzilla there, he's cheesy.
Yeah, it's Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong.
I feel like maybe it has to do with the fact that there is, multiple current canonical iterations of Godzilla.
Yeah.
You've got the Americanized Godzilla, you've got the classic Japanese Godzilla, and I believe there is even a splinter timeline in like classic Godzilla storytelling at this point. So maybe this is one of those things where different people get to option different things, and that's how at the mall they were never fake Power Rangers. They were just other Sentai loser.
I'm looking it up on the Godzilla wiki because it says really specifically that the DC one is a collaboration with Legendary Comics and Toho International, and the Marvel one does not say that so much. That's very interesting. There has to be some fascinating right stuff going on here.
I wonder, and that's why I had even immediately assumed that would be the case. That's why I just kind of figured that had to be what was going on, that there's a different company that's somehow connected to this, because obviously Marvel touted this. They were almost as excited about this as they were about their misfire with the Dark Tower, which is so funny because if you just shoot with your heart. But anyway, I feel like this is probably the biggest fucking mistake anyone's made with a property since Dark Horse Comics folded, because Stephanie Plum, it turned out, did not have one for the money. And that's very funny. Stephanie Plum writes the Janet Ivanovich novels, and they did a Motor Mouth. They did like a thing at Dark Horse Comics, and it failed, and it was such a big buy-in that it literally resulted in them laying off a third of the staff.
Well, I have to say, the funniest jokes are the ones you have to explain.
Always. But, like, that is the reality because, like, that really is oftentimes when people are making jokes about, like, somebody listens to Churchill speeches. Who listens to Churchill speeches? The people that wind up, changing the future. And so, like, sometimes we're making these jokes, but, like, you can literally look into the past of where multiple companies have spent an incredible amount of money to get involved in big licenses. It's a quick fizzle, and it results in huge layoffs. Now, I'm not saying that Godzilla is going to be, me doing Bowser to a Luigi levels of fucking destroying Marvel, but I am saying that it does conjure the idea that even Mario had Mario Sunshine. A game that wound up beloved, but at the time, financially and critically, was not the world's biggest thing. And I really wonder if this could be something maybe a little bit tamer to compare it to, Phoenix End Song, which at the time, that was like the pinnacle of my coming into comics. And I tell you, people literally in the shops were like, I'm masturbating to this, holding it in the shop. And the other half of the shop was like, I'm going to light this on fire and I'm going to burn your shop down with it. And those were the two options. And they're kind of still the two options, to be really fucking honest with you. But like, even the Molotov cocktail folks on it are kind of like, yeah, but I mean, obviously the Speedy thing is more egregious. Like, there's still like a level of let's not be too crazy here. And I wonder if this is like, I already think this is gonna flop. I wonder if it will get a second life.
I mean, I don't think it'll flop, but like, it's nothing. What do we do with these things? I mean, like, we read them. Like, I don't. Alien versus Avengers was really cool too. You get to a certain point when you're reading it and you're like, I don't know what I do with this. Like, not everything needs to be part of a huge ongoing serialized universe, and not everything needs to be a lead up for a movie. But if it's not those things, in a world of those things.
And what do you do?
Well, and it's got to be really good. It can't just be like, it can be whatever one issue. Even if that one issue is 64 pages, but I don't want to keep buying more. Like, I lost steam by the second issue of Avengers versus Aliens because I liked the concept for one issue. Like, that was a great week. It was a great Wednesday reading that, but I didn't want to keep up with it because what is this? And similarly with this, like, if you want to do a one shot, like if you want to make this like a Marvel swimsuit issue, if you want to do, because also, by the way, this isn't just Godzilla, it's all the other kaiju too. So this is just Marvel and kaiju, which also they do their own kaiju. So it's fine, but like I don't want to pick up 6 of these. I don't want to do this till July. Okay.
Oh, that's the okay. So
that's
and
it.
yeah,
That's all I got.
Part of why I feel like the storytelling here has to be secondary to the idea of cashing in on the grab is when you're looking at what they're doing, they're not seeking to create an elevated storytelling platform. I think a little bit about where KEVO was feeling not vibed so good about Gargoyle's Fantastic Four, which is coming evidently. You know, they both have buildings. So
yeah, I didn't even read further than the fact that it's happening because, yeah, no, I don't get it. And I really agree with a lot of what TK is saying. It's not that it's not fun. And I love that you pointed to that's really fun for one day. Do a full drop of a bunch of stories that I can read and be excited about. But I don't want to keep this going for months. You even pointed to a thought that I had. They have their own kaiju. They have things that are bigger than Godzilla. And it says Godzilla destroys the Marvel Universe.
I'm a thought that you have that's bigger than Godzilla.
There's bigger things than Godzilla that they've fought. Why is he going to destroy the Marvel Universe? And again, that's fun for a day, but you're drawing an event out for several months. Ugh, I don't know. And like for me, it's also Greg Weisman is insane, and I don't know how much he's going to be like, well, now the Fantastic Four exist in the Gargoyles universe. No, you don't.
He won't be allowed to reference them, so it won't matter if he thinks it's a good idea because Marvel will hit him with a cease and desist so aggressive.
Then he will refer to it as something different. He's a weirdo and he loves doing weird things and still saying it's canon. And like, that's the thing. There will be people who will try to be like, well, now Godzilla can defeat Thor because I read it in this book.
Literally up at the top of the episode.
Yep.
You know, I find that this automatically goes on our radar of things that we're going to talk about, whether or not we actually care about them, from how hard we just talked about them, whether or not we actually fucking care about them.
Yeah.
And that is where I sometimes feel like the bad guys are winning. But, you know, it's really funny. A couple of weeks ago, or maybe even just like 2 or 3 weeks ago, you recently made a post that maybe sometimes people aren't the most honest on social media. People just be out here lying.
That is, in fact, what I said.
And you know what? The reason I'm even bringing that up is because, like, that is kind of the nature of the comics industry. It really is like the nature of media, the nature of movies, comics, TV, and more. That's sort of what we're all emulating. We're all just posting our own best movie poster every single time we post a picture. And I feel like this is maybe Marvel throwing in the towel on pretending that it's all not just about the social media post. I wish this was just a one shot. Maybe I wish this was just a poster. Maybe I wish this was just the commemorative Godzilla versus the Marvel Universe poster.
100%. That is literally all you need. And as Kevo backed me up on, like, one issue, sure, make it a big one. Like I said, it could be 64 pages, but this is a one object event. This is not a multi-book, multi-week, multi-phasic event. I mean, for DC, theirs is 2. The original Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong was last year. This is a new one that, rather than being the monsters in the DC universe, it's the DC heroes in the Monsterverse.
And I'll say, I hope that the Godzilla and Monsterverse people eat this up then. And I hope then that it's great for them. We love the Monsterverse, the movies, the TV show. So we're not against Godzilla as an entity. And if it's for you guys, great. It's just we're sort of left here scratching our heads. That's all.
So in that same vein, I am left a little bit scratching my head in regard to this Giant Size X-Men project. It feels like between this and the Hellfire Vigil, which I know we're going to discuss, we are seeing a dynamic shift in the property operation of the X-Men. I no longer believe Brevoort is in for the long haul. I believe he is here to transition us to someone who is going to direct the X-Men with love and let's go with integrity. Not that Brevoort doesn't have it, but Brevoort certainly likes to tell fans they don't. So I feel we are barreling. Like, this is, to keep the Nintendo metaphor going, this is Donkey Kong barrels level of flying toward a completely unrelated X-Men.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with this. This was the other story in the Free Comic Book Day book that had the Fantastic Four story, and it's literally just a silly telling of a scene from a reimagined telling of a scene from the original Giant Size X-Men story, where Cyclops is saying to everybody, I gotta see what you're made of, and he fires an optic blast at them, and they all fight, and they all show their stuff as if we don't know what Wolverine stuff is, what Storm stuff is, what Colossus's stuff is in the year of our Lord 2025. And then he goes and hems and haws in his room and says, I don't know if they got it. And Kamala Khan shows up and goes, well, I'll fix everything. And of course, that's how we know that this is crazy, because she wasn't there. Yeah, this is just making a Solicit come to life. That story. And then, like, what did the rest of this? I don't know. I mean, I just keep going, okay, like, sure, if this is what you guys want to do, fine. I don't know, but this doesn't feel like anything. I don't know that the way to establish that Kamala Khan is one of the greats of the mutant world is to force her back in time into the mutant world. I think it might be to, in the present day, make her a more of a thought leader and a team leader for a more cohesive vision of who mutants are and who the X-Men are. I don't know that it was to shove her in at sometimes B tier, but really C tier, not in terms of quality, in terms of how it was treated, X-Men book, and have her in that book not be a central figure. It was a mostly ensemble cast, but like most of that book is her going, me baby, I don't know how to do the things, and Sophie going, I'm a slut, I'll show you. Like, just nobody's really anything that they are. I mean,
it was like, very get and loser. We're going to Krakoa.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're going literally anywhere else but Krakoa, but yes. And
oh no, NYX was the only book that thought it was still writing a Krakoa title. It was just like, yes. What if I was sad about Krakoa?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. And it just, like, because less than a year ago we had a Kamala Khan who was like, oh, I'm a mutant now. I like how she was being written in Fall of X is like, I will be this leader with you, I'll be a part of this underground, and I will fight. Like, I'm here. I'm an X-Man now. I'm a mutant now. And just everything since then is like literally anything but that, hoping for the same results. And we have had books called Wolverine and the X-Men. There's absolutely no reason that we could not have Miss Marvel and the X-Men. And a 6-issue big flagship turning of the tide story called Miss Marvel and the X-Men, I think that is a present day story, would have a much bigger impact than let's revisit stuff that we have seen a billion times before, but this time Kamala Khan is in scenes that are being like slightly rewritten.
Kamala Khan, character that was not created until after everybody associated with the Dark Phoenix saga was dead.
And very possibly, depending on how time is actually working, was not actually alive at the time.
You know, and it's part of what I love the most about the question of who Kamala Khan is to the Marvel Universe. Characters like Kamala, like Miles, like I want to think of somebody who isn't a beautiful representation of diversity in the Marvel Universe. While I do that, Kevo, hit me.
This sounds like that episode of New Saved by the Bell where they show flashbacks to classic Saved by the Bell and insert John Michael Higgins' character, who's the new principal, to justify that he had been a classmate of Zach, Kelly, Jesse, and Slater's. And he's like interacting blue screen style with scenes that we remember from the original.
Yeah.
This is giving me that sort of vibe as she's important because look how she would have reacted here. But that's weird. That's weird.
Nico, any of the new champions?
But I mean, actually, like so many of the new champions are diverse.
Amaranth isn't. We don't know what Phantasma looks like.
But like that's even like where I find myself frustrated. Like this is so dumb. It's not make more white characters now. It's you should have more diverse characters in the past. And so like I just can't fix that now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like we'll get there when we get there. I could be wrong. This could be a really interesting story. I don't think this is the way to work with Kamala Khan. Also, the Solicit, I didn't read anything about this, and this definitely didn't come up in the original Solicits for this, but one of the Solicits that I read spoils who the villain is. I didn't need that information to go forward in this, and I'm bummed that I have it now. I don't know, man. I don't know. I hope you're right about the fact that like we're moving towards the next phase of things and that it does not involve Tom Brevoort, who has indirectly insulted me way too many times at this point by like just describing behaviors that I engage in.
He openly described you and I as idiots. Like,
I mean, exactly. Like people who, he is anybody who criticizes him, he says is, like wild on the internet, and he shits on ideas that are just like, again, like I think that Spider-Man should be older, and then don't read it. Okay, good compromise, friend. Like I don't know. So I do hope that we're moving away from him. I hope we're moving away from Jed McKay the next time.
It's tough because it's not just that I hope we're moving away from Jed McKay on X-Men. I don't love his Avengers either. The identity there really leaves me a little lost for how it's the Avengers, a little lost for how it's meant to push us forward in the Marvel Universe. I am understanding of the fact that you can't move forward every single thing in the entire Marvel Universe at once, but it's frankly why I'm not that interested in Imperial yet. It's why I'm not that interested in Marvel Knights the World to Come yet. Neither one of those what feel like massive vanity projects. Like, when you're thinking about vanity projects, you hope that they are what I'm going to assume is the benevolent cocaine fever dream of Something Beautiful by Miley Cyrus, which just feels like the worst thing I'm going to say about it in 4 years is I completely forgot it existed. You hope it's not a massive sprawling vanity project that hurts the brand. I think It's not that Immortal Thor hurt the brand. It's that Immortal Thor said that sometimes you can do the biggest thing and no one will fucking care. It does not matter. All you did was keep your copyright on the title. Congratulations, you're a trademark, not an idea.
Ewing is the other person who Hickman's a lot. He's got it, especially when it comes to Marvel cosmology, and like it's one of those things where I wish the two of them could work together a little bit more. I know it's very difficult when you have a lot of big thinking creative minds, getting them to summit, but you know, Gillen, Hickman, Ewing, they riff on each other's stuff a lot, but it always feels like one of them has to finish what he's doing. The other one then takes it and doesn't necessarily honor what came before and build on it. He goes, no, yes, no, yes, and then does his own thing. And this is very Ewing's understanding of the Asgardian part of the Marvel cosmology in very cool ways, but it's also just like, I don't know, Ewing gets his way a lot and gets to do a lot of stuff, and I don't even necessarily have a problem with it. I don't always think he should get his way, but like he does really good, smart work. It's really, really interesting. But then what does that mean? I've ever since Defenders Beyond came out, both of the miniseries, I've just been like, okay, now what? Like now you've shown me the inner workings and like your conception of like the Marvel tree of life. What does that mean? Well, how does that affect anything that comes after? Where are we going to see this other places? And not that you shouldn't write that story and publish that story if that's your idea, but like it just gets a little difficult to be excited about these big swings when I just don't know. Like, I just feel like the next person's going to come write Thor and he's going to be like, what if Thor wore Jenkos? And it's like, okay, but we just did Utgard Thor, so the Jenkos don't feel super impressive right now. So I as soon as I saw that this one was going swinging wide, I set it aside and I will be picking it up around now. Like now that we are getting to issue 25 and the end of it, I will read the whole thing at once and enjoy it kind of in the same way as I'm talking about with like Marvel versus Godzilla as like one product, because I don't feel like the next product will continue and will really build off of what has happened here, even if what has happened here is cool.
I feel the same way. I don't necessarily know that I think it's going to go as 90s as Jenko, but I do think it's going to be something that literally extreme. I think it's going to be something literally that like he pops in an 8-track. Like it is going to be something that takes the idea of Thor and moves it to somewhere I feel maybe a little bit more often considered ironic. But when you're talking about this kind of world of Thor, frankly, I think these sorts of, because I, having read a lot of this run, there are a lot of modern ideas in it. Ewing is not somebody who shies away from the idea of modern storytelling, but this idea of Thor is so steeped in what makes Thor a classic mythology trope. When you think about what made the, Morrison JLA work, it was that these were God characters. I do think that sometimes Ewing can suffer from excessive largeness in his storytelling, where if I have a frustration, it's that I don't think that all of the ideas that he put forward in Immortal Thor were able to be paid off in the 25 issues thereof. And there were specials, super cool, very excited. But I'm not walking away from Immortal Thor feeling complete. I'm walking away from Immortal Thor feeling, okay, that'll be a fun read in hardcover someday.
Yeah.
I'm walking into this fucking swimsuit special ready just to, things that I will not say on YouTube. But let me tell you, whether it is the fuzzy tummy of everything about Tony Stark in this image, it is that we have the world's most unbelievably sexy Scott Summers just looking like my fuckboy dream on another cover. This is what makes sexy fun in comics for me. I remember maybe 2 years ago having some really negative opinions on whatever swimsuit special was coming out at that point and saying, hadn't comics moved past this? And it was because I felt like the images I was looking at, it just sort of felt like Randy Blue or Sean Cody in a world where I can get Fraternity X or I can get Bully Him. Why would I settle for the generic? And, I'm obviously being silly and funny, but what makes this one stand out for me? This feels dialed in. This feels sexy. I always felt like porn on Twitter was just people posting dick. Blue Sky makes it, romantic. This is the Joe Man in a world of AO3.
Man, I love your enthusiasm. I agree. I think this will be fun. I will say I am really bummed there's no Lucas Vernick.
Yeah, well, there's and more, which means...
I think there's no Lucas Vernick. I think they would have said something. I think he would have been...
No, variant cover by Lucas Vernick. It's right on the solicit. It says by Tim Steele, Tony Fleece, Nick Bradshaw, Nick Klein, Marguerite Savage, Luciano Vecchio, and more. Wraparound by Adam Hughes, wraparound by Mark Brooks, variant by Lucas Vernick, variant by Torrin Clark.
Excellent. The original solicit did not have that, so I'm super excited to see his name, and I'll be interested to see if he has any art in there internally.
And Pablo Villalobos and Russell Dowderman.
Dodderman is the one I know. He did that. He did the Gene and Scott. The Gene and Scott are him. I will say, putting the Phoenix on the butt.
Are you telling me you don't think Hole gives life?
Stop that. So yeah, I don't know. Of course, we all are of the age that the early Marvel swimsuit issues were big for all of us. I think it's really fun when people get to practice this kind of more casual styling, get to do sexy but not Spider-Woman ass in the air. Everybody here looks really good, and of course, like, we're still not in realistic body proportion territory, but we're not in this is offensive and rape fantasy territory. So what you'd think that would be a large enough of a gulf that we could get in there real easily and just sit pretty, but weirdly it seems to be a problem. So I'm happy we're chilling there. Let's set up and hang out for a while. I love that every woman is on her tiptoes as though she should be wearing heels and is not.
I gotta be honest, how do you flex your calves?
Truth.
And TK walking me the other day through feeling so sad that I don't have Mary Jane's calves. I am so glad that there was somebody to be there for me, because this is giving me unrealistic body image issues. I don't even mean the men's muscles. I mean the women. Guys, come on. I can only do so much. Ugh. But no, I'm excited about this in part just because it's exactly what you're saying. When I do my cash play, like when I go to cons, I tend to do cash play over cosplay. I want to have an easy time going to the bathroom. Like that's the goal, right? And seeing these people in their cash play identities, these characters, and seeing these artists unlock that, it's so much fun. It's what makes these books a little bit easier to deal with than when they're just smut.
Yeah.
Speaking of books that might just be smut, but maybe not sexual smut, Spider-Man versus the Sinister 16. I've definitely seen this film on... I'm kidding. I definitely have read this. No, I think one of the things that's so cool about this book that I love is we're going into an era where one of the things that's going on with Spider-Man is he is now going to constantly be afoul of heroes. You know, Spider-Man is such a powerful character. He has generated so many characters into the universe that a number of them have honestly gone on to become heroes on par with Spider-Man, in the form of Venom having 3 films at this point, an incredible number of video games, an incredible number of Walmart sweatshirts. And so we're at a point where there are people who are heroes, but they make sense to be on a cover fighting Spider-Man. I mean, I think, you know, Sinister 16 is a joke you make in a web short, like, you know, like, I'm the leader of the Sinister 16. And like, it's a bit, but like the fact that we're doing it here and it's not being called, you know, the event not to miss. Cool. Do what you're going to do. Waste my time. I'm going to read it on Marvel Unlimited and I'm going to have a good time. I love the Dodsons. This just seems like a silly book, and this is the kind of silly book I would like to spend a little bit more money on.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my sentiment too. There's, you know, I sort of just don't ever feel like I could ever believe that Mystique or Wilson are going to be part of a gang going after Spider-Man. I feel like Wilson would fund a sinister X number of people. And who knows how this will all present itself, but like, it also just feels like you've heard of the Sinister Six. Well, we've got 16 of them. And if that isn't very silly, again, it's like, if Doom has already taken over the multiverse and you don't make him taking over the world silly because it is so much smaller, you're missing out on obvious humor and you're taking yourself too seriously. In a similar way, if you go, Spider-Man already has a Sinister Six, what if it were 16? And you don't think that should be funny, you think that should be like, oh, we just maxed it out with the next number that has 6 in it. You are taking yourself too seriously and you are ruining everything. So this could be really funny and it could be fun and it could be, it doesn't even need to be funny. It could be lighthearted. But if they really are like, can you believe there's 16 people going after him this time? I won't have a ton of tolerance for it.
You know, and that's even part of where I feel like this is kind of fun because it's light, it's stupid, it's silly. There is nothing that tells me that this is going to be the book that I can't miss. Honestly, I'm not thrilled with the fact that New Thunderbolts has some people that feel important in it. Like, I don't want important people in New Thunderbolts. It's Carnage, a Hulk, I am not sure which green, probably Scar, who knows. Clea, Bucky, Natasha, White Namor, you know, the leaner one. And Laura, the better Wolverine. Personally, I would swap out that Namor for Namor. I would swap out Carnage for many other symbiotes. This book just isn't bringing home my bacon. Neither is the White Queen flashback. Even Torrin Grunbeck can't get me to care about the Spider-Girl ongoing now that Dan Slott is leaving Marvel. Who cares? Give me Wolverines and Deadpools all the day.
Yeah, that's essentially my take too. My only thing with Wolverines and Deadpools, I do love it. I would have liked to have done Wolverines on its own first. That's a title I've been asking for since Krakoa, when the family really gelled together. I thought it made a ton of sense. I've wanted more plural character team books forever. I mean, the big one that Nico and I were sure was coming, and I just think is such a miss not to be doing, is Daredevils. But I would love if this were a follow-up to a Wolverines series. On its own, it'll be what it is. I think it'll be some amount of fun. Yeah, I don't need another White Queen book. I'm so not a past flashback book. I need an Emma really digging in to the Marvel Universe book. Probably mentoring Kamala Khan, honestly. And then what was the first one?
New Thunderbolts.
I mean, of course, we're doing a Thunderbolts book right now. Whatever, we'll find out. They keep doing these, and they're all good, but it's like, what are we? Where Guts and Glory and that weird little monster from Luke Cage's Thunderbolts? That was a great book. why isn't Guts and Glory in the swimsuit issue? There's things I'm upset about. So I don't need to add on to this with another Thunderbolts team that's just more people that I'm just in a year I'm gonna be like, where are these people? What is this team? Where were they?
Oh my god, you're talking about all of my favorites on Scruff. Where are they? What happened? Where are all these sexy men? I want to see other guts. So the main thing I do want to comment on about that is we are in a place where Marvel is so scared to take real chances that they take little chances, hope that they wind up going well, but like we can only do so much online when we're talking about these books to herald a Wolverines and Deadpools, despite the fact that it has that name on it, compared to Batman Hush 2, because for every Batman Hush 2, there's a Batman Dark Patterns, which is getting no coverage, no attention, no real effort on pushing it, and there's a Wolverine #1 by Saladin Ahmed, which is getting all of the attention, which is a fine book, but it's not as exciting as seeing Laura continue her journey as a Wolverine, not as a Thunderbolt. So as I wrap up my thoughts on Marvel and look at DC, I'm feeling a little bit like this summer is going to be a summer of reruns, but like, you know what? Fine. I'll just be so busy that I won't have time for your fucking reruns.
There you go.
To switch things over to DC, you know, it's really hard to talk about DC right now without just taking a big step back and kind of acknowledging that so much of the DC universe is a result of their cross media. You know, Marvel really has the one feed. It's really just got the movies. But for DC, the nature of, I feel like the bigger picture of the universe is tied to the animated shows, the movies, not just the one cinematic universe. And it's for that reason I feel like Gotham City Sirens is one of those things that kind of has its kitty claws in everything, whether it's Harley Quinn or it's spinoff Kite Man or it's Batman Cape Crusader, which is tied into Batman the Animated Series. This is a book that really feels present.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was just reminded that some of the most fun I had in comics over the last 5 years was Leah Williams' Exterminators. And Gotham City Sirens is kind of Exterminators without having had to beg for it to happen. DC has been a little more cognizant of the amazing women they have and the kind of fun interactions they can have together, and then you need to let a woman write those so that they are not stupid, inauthentic, and just kind of like the real danger being that they are made for male pleasure and not, you know, from a perspective of female joy. And we have already had Leah Williams on some Gotham City Sirens stuff. That was fun, not like amazing, but it's always fun. At the end of the day, it's always a really good story that I want to see built off of, and I want to see referenced again, and I want to see become a build out for all of the women in it. So I'm perfectly happy to see more.
And it's where I'm kind of bummed that this is once again going to be a weekly title across 1 month, as was her last Gotham City Sirens.
Yeah.
But you know what? At the same time, I feel like by the end of Exterminators, I was like, so like it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, I know Exterminators wasn't perfect, and my problem, of course, is that I want these to be a little more ongoing. I want them to be the place where the characters in them see some of their best development and see movement. Exterminators was really fun, but it's just like those 4 women haven't been together since. Laura, for the most part, if I had any advice for Erica Schultz, it would be to say, read some Leah Williams, read some Exterminators, and imagine that Laura is maybe not always that serious. Like, imagine Laura having a little bit of fun. Erica Schultz is writing a Laura that is growing and that is changing and that is expanding her role in the Marvel universe. The only thing is she's not having a ton of fun. Leah Williams was writing a Laura, a Dazzler, a Boom Boom, and a Jubilee that were having a ton of fun, but that never became part of who they were. And I would have really liked to have seen that. My hope here for these characters is that what Leah Williams writes for them will become part of their trademark, part of their brand, and part of their story, part of their ongoing narrative. Short of that, I know I'll get fun, and I can be okay with that.
It's interesting because I really remember when Exterminators was coming out, there was such a positive vibe from this show who was covering it at the time. And you would think that would eventually translate into seeing those iterations continue on in the Marvel universe. I feel like they maybe fell a little flat. I feel like that sense of fun, like you're saying, kind of gets lost on the next writer every time. Which is where sometimes things like the Absolute Universe gives you such an opportunity to try new things. This Batman has the cultural hallmarks of being Batman, but he doesn't come with all of the same story elements. You know, if this Bane is going to be redacted, you know, what's the point of spoilers on the internet? I feel like there's a lot of stuff already out there about this character, but you know, unless it's Jason Todd wearing Tim Drake's scalp, you know, how weird can you make this? How freaky, how, you know, American Horror Story was only really that disturbing till Terrifier 3. And so, like, we're at a point where how baned out can you make Bane in a world where Bane is Bane? And, like, this cover does not fit this style, this clever, does not fit the honesty of the book. And this is an example of where if you're checking out the advertisements, it's great, but the book itself is something very different.
Yeah, I think it's a really fair read. It just feels like a little comic trick, a little like maybe we'll get them if we tell them there's a secret in there that they can pick up on. But for my money, it's actually just a good book. Like this becomes the real crux of the issue for everything. It's like you gotta do sexy covers or trick people or be like, you'll never believe what happens because your book isn't actually that good, and you can't figure out how to market. You should be reading this because it's really good, because you would be fucking lying, and nobody is going to tolerate that kind of lie. They'll tolerate your, like, the biggest Spider-Man adventure ever. They'll tolerate you saying it's the Sinister 16. Like, can you believe how huge that is? But if you genuinely, heartfeltedly say, we are actually doing something interesting and good here, people mostly probably aren't going to believe you, and they shouldn't anymore. And also, if you are lying or if you are misleading them with that kind of like, we are actually serious, this is quality, you can't ever get that trust back. So rather than ever do that, the big two will often resort to like, you gotta pick up the issue to find out this crazy secret we're going to tell you, and the crazy secret's never that good. But in the case of the Absolute books, and for a while the Ultimate books, it was actually like, these are just good and it's a fresh start, and like you've only got 7 Batmans before this to pick up, or 6 Batmans before this to pick up. I guess it's more now. What number is this?
This is 10.
Yeah, 10. Okay, so 9's still not even now. It's not a full year's worth. And there's some real value propositions in picking it up at a certain point. They've still got a little while to rely on that before this all gets too big, and then they do have to do the tricks. So I don't know, maybe I guess issue 10 is where you start to do that shit, but I don't know. I was gonna read this anyway, guys, like, and I was gonna tell people they should read it too. I was gonna say nice things about Absolute. This isn't gonna stop me, but this is more in the direction of like, oh, you're being a little shifty little bitch.
Exactly. It's this is One Tree Hill using, no, Haley, I think we should divorce.
Yeah.
And like it,
And then you get
obviously
the
the line is
episode,
actually,
no, I think we should never divorce. Yeah.
and we will always be together. And I love you, Haley. One thing
Yeah.
is clear: you wear a halo. You wear a halo when I look at you. And like it's obviously one of those things where I feel a little manipulated. Because if I feel really, really, really manipulated, and I'm going to be open about it, I should never find Superman this handsome. I love this outfit.
This is the one you like?
The hair doesn't do it for me, but I love this outfit. I actually really love the contour of the suit. I love the gold inflection. I probably prefer like a little bit more of like a daddy Superman face and a little bit more of like a buzz cut.
I mean, even this Superman has been drawn a lot thicker than this too.
But I love this costume. I
get what you're saying. I like the costume too. I just this very effusive there, and I if you put depictions even of just absolute Superman in a lineup, this would be like the last one I would pick for you.
Oh no, for sure. It's just particularly the outfit.
I do love the outfit. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. He is such an interesting take on a character that I've enjoyed a lot of interesting takes on lately. We just got through all of my adventures with Superman, which was terrific, and I'm so stoked for my adventures with Green Lantern. Absolute Superman is nothing like that. My Adventures with Superman is a lighthearted manga anime style adventure for Superman. And this is Jason Aaron likes to torture people. So it's a very different experience, but I'm enjoying it. I find the character captivating, and the art is never miss.
Yeah, I'm on the same page.
Speaking of Superman, though, one of the things is this is the summer of Superman, whatever the fuck that means. And one of the things that it does mean is that we're getting a Superman Treasury edition, evidently. I know it's got Dan Jurgens. I know it's got a lot of classic people connected to the art. I'm excited for the summer of Superman. I kind of don't know what the summer of Superman really means. You just keep saying it, but it's sort of like at a certain point. What?
We had the movie coming out.
Sure, but what does the summer of Superman in DC mean?
I was gonna say, aren't all DC summers the summer of Superman?
And so, like, they're doing all of these specials, and they're ramping up all of the titles, and they're giving us all of this stuff. And we're even getting this. We're getting California Love, which it's the entire super family running around California for a day. John Constantine shows up to hang out with Supergirl. John and Connor team up, which is definitely the name of a story I've written. And I'm fascinated by all of the choices they're making with the super family. But one of the things that I am most fascinated by is how little any of it feels like it's driving toward canon.
I mean, as KEVO pointed out, the movie's coming out, so let's just flood the market. I feel like we could do better. I get the market flooding strategy, but like Summer of Superman, again, every summer is the Summer of Superman. He's Superman. He is the, flagship. It's every summer Superman, every winter is Batman. Springs are Wonder Woman, falls are Catwoman. That's just how it works. I don't make the rules. But so what can we actually do? How can we actually think outside the box and make something interesting if we want to cross promo, especially when we're in this interesting place where we don't have the saturated market that our competitor does? What if we innovated? What if we thought about literally anything other than just the most obvious thing you can say for our one movie and just hype it up, especially because the movie's it's a Superman. Like the audience, again, with these things, I'm like, your marketing budget should be zero. Everybody was already going to go to this movie or not. Like, it's the flagship title. You guys wasted so much money advertising Deadpool and Wolverine. We were all going to go see it. Like, it's Deadpool and Wolverine. There was no question. There was not a single person who was like, I don't know. I'd like it if I had a popcorn bucket. That'll get me. I mean, don't get me wrong. We bought the popcorn bucket, but like these promo materials and like, I don't need a stand up anywhere. I'm just going to go see the movie. People are going to just go see Superman. They want to know what the James Gunn verse is. Like, you don't need to do anything. And so by extension, the comics don't need to just do like What if we did even more Superman stories? Go insane. Go think so far outside the box. Court people, that weird person who was never going to go see the movie. Get them in there. Bring everybody into the Superman umbrella. There's just so many other things to do besides Summer of Superman.
Yeah, it's frustrating because like one of the things that I really want is a Summer of Superman, but there is so much big bat stuff going on right now that like with Detective Comics 1099 coming out, we know that Detective Comics 1100 is next. Like whatever Superman Treasury Edition #1 is, it's not going to be Detective Comics 1100, and it does get to be that Batman himself is in too many titles, and it does get to be Superman himself is in too many titles. I just don't know how this is the Summer of Superman when Batman titles still outnumber his. So I guess it's Summer of second place.
Yeah.
So I'm excited because whatever we're getting from this Batman, Harvey Bullock, and Penguin arc from Tom Taylor, the real payoff is gonna have to be 1100 the next month. And it's just worth noting that Batman and Detective Comics have really hit some big fucking numbers,
as we kind of always expect them to. They're the gold standard,
and that's where we're constantly saying I just wish Marvel could get a book up that high. Like, nobody is saying you need to have the largest numbers, but if you could just please push something into the double digits, not by technicality.
Yep.
Speaking of books that have hit double digits and not by technicality, genuinely, there is a pornographic content to how many issues and how many titles, how many spin-offs, how many tie-ins that Green Lantern has been running that we're just hitting 25. We had the Night Terrors. We had the tie-in work with Alan. We had the tie-in work with the Sinister Sons. We had the tie-in work from so many books at this point. Green Lantern, you just got to end at some point, or you got to do something, because right now it just feels like you're trying to remind us what Green Lantern used to be.
Yeah, I've been having that problem. My Green Lantern experiences are the last 18 months, and you are the keeper of the deep myths and a lot of the old interesting stories, and you really bridged me into it really well. And this all started out really strong. 18 months later, it's feeling a little directionless. It's just feeling like it's ready for a reboot, a new mission statement, and a kind of reconfiguration for a new long haul. Because like everything that was happening before just really felt like it was getting us to the end of Absolute Power. And then when Absolute Power ended with Green Lantern stuff, it sort of felt like they were just like, now everybody is just stuck in the wake of Absolute Power. Not actually, they said like, well, everything's like, we solved the problem with, forget the guy's name, but the bad guy, Theros. And we're restarting the Green Lanterns, but it doesn't really feel like it's a new status quo. It feels like they're still stuck in the wake of Absolute Power. And I hope for kind of a big triumphant restart for them.
Yeah, that's really what I'm looking forward to from this summer with comics. I'm looking forward to a wide opportunity to see a lot of these titles go new places, do new things. TK, were there any books at DC or Marvel you didn't get to talk about that you were excited to from the Solicits?
No, not really. We really covered everything that was on my list.
That's great. Whether we're looking forward to the continued Silent and Ahmed Daredevil or Mark Waid's upcoming Dark Tomorrow, there's a lot of titles out there that we just didn't get to hit, but they're out there. They're going to be great. Make sure you check them out. It's not all just this sexy cheesecake and us being sexy cheesecake, but you guys should definitely check out everything going on at Marvel, everything going on at DC, the indies, and more. There is a world of comics out there, and we're going to be covering it as best we can all summer long. So keep your dial tuned to X is for Show on YouTube. But until then, Kevo, you produce the absolute most incredible show. You just absolutely blow the roof off this thing. And I cannot wait until we come back to do more show with you. But until we do, Kevo, where can everybody check out you, your amazing work, what you got going on, what's happening, what's the thing?
What do I have going on? Well, I'm excited for this weekend. We have upcoming our coverage for RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 10. Almost thought I said the right season. Season 10. We're going to be covering that Saturday. We're going to be ranking Eurovision this weekend. We have the finals coming up next week. We have so many exciting things going on. You can check all that out on our channel. Lots of cool things there. And you can check me out on the socials at Kevo Reilly. That's KEVO
TK, obviously we could not do this without you. You are the man, the myth, the legend. Where can we find you?
You can find me at TK Accidental on all your socials. Nico, where you at?
And it's really funny because I thought you were going to say that you were fighting the Justice League and destroying the Marvel Universe because you're just such a big, awesome monster.
I might do it.
That's how we do. You guys can check me out at Nico Action, and NICOACTION, Nico Action Music, and NICOACTION MUSIC. You guys can check that out on all of your socials. Don't forget, we do what we do because we love it, and so we want to hear from you guys. We want to get those likes, those comments, and subscribes, not just because it keeps us alive, but because it lets us know that we're making what you guys want to hear, what you guys want to see. But you guys want to check us out, you got to check us out on all of our socials for the show as well. That's HTML Husbands Talking More or Less. X is for podcast and X is for show. We think the world of you all, and we can't wait to be back here and see you guys. So number 1, please stay safe. Number 2, please be brave. But number 3, please evolve daily. Who you were yesterday, incredible. Who you are tomorrow, just absolutely amazing. But who you are, oh no, I did them out of order. Yesterday, incredible. Today, phenomenal. Tomorrow, even better. We'll see you. Uncanny. It's nighttime. Goodbye.